What's your reaction to the debate last night?
Well, it was different, I'll tell you that. I mean, it opened up with things that I don't normally expect to hear in a presidential debate. Don't know if America cares to hear, but they did eventually get around to some substance, and the attacks on Donald Trump didn't let up, and I think that could have an impact on the race going forward. What impact, I'm not sure yet, but you know, clearly there are things there that over the coming days we're going to hear more of. And we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, really, that's the follow-up taken. I mean, a lot of shots taken at Donald Trump, but do you think it impacted his leadership role in this election so far?
Every time people have said that what he said is going to hurt him, it hasn't. But one thing, the flexibility issue, where, by the way, on the H-1B visas, for example, the New York Times, he's not going to ask the New York Times to release that conversation that he had off the record, because now off the record is sacred, although he wants to make it easier to sue the New York Times, as he said last week. But I think the flexibility issue, I don't believe what he said about H-1B visas, and the campaign has put out another statement on it. I don't think that's why people like him and love him and are so inspired by him and support him without fail, is for flexibility. Yeah. I don't know if that hurts him. You know who this helped last night? It helped Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party.
It did?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it was kind of a mess. There was a lot of talking over. They didn't talk about her enough. Yeah. Frank Luntz, who is coming up in the next hour, pointed out in the first half an hour of that debate, her name came up one time. Yeah. They had the opportunity when now the person at the State Department is basically going to talk to the FBI, has been given immunity. Yeah. They could have hammered.
They're in a different moment, though. They're in a different moment right now. Right now, this is the 11th hour, and they're trying to take out Trump as much as they can. He was obviously accused by his opponents of being a flip-flopper on the policy issues, as Dagan just referred to. Let's listen to Trump defending himself, and then I want to get your reaction to it, David Drucker.
I have a very strong claim. But I've never seen a successful person who wasn't flexible, who didn't have a certain degree of flexibility. You have to have a certain degree of flexibility.
There's a difference between flexibility and telling people whatever you think you need to say to get them to do what you want them to do. And that's what Donald has done throughout his career.
David, what do you think? I mean, at the start of this...
Look, Go ahead. Yeah, this is something that should hurt Donald Trump and could hurt Donald Trump. The question is whether or not this is coming up. The question is whether or not this is coming up too late in the campaign to have an impact with the voting already underway. When you are flexible on things, I think voters understand. When you flip-flop on a key part of your policy, something that has given your campaign so much fuel, that's another thing. I'd also point out something else I think deserves a lot of attention. I wonder if it will happen. Donald Trump was asked essentially, why do you expect your military commanders to commit war crimes if you order them to do it? And he said, I'm a leader, they'll listen to me. First of all, they won't. And second of all, it's a very big deal, because what he's talking about is not just collateral damage in the death of family members of terrorists who are targeted by the United States military. He has talked about purposely targeting family members to send a message to those terrorists. And that is something military commanders won't do. It's against the law. And it's just a very big deal to have a candidate for president of the United States who's the front runner talk about this. And I think it's getting lost because there are other more entertaining aspects of the debate.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I felt like, you know what, this was taking some bloom off of the rose, Joanie, for Donald Trump. Now, I don't know if I was reading it right, but I felt that this attack on him some of it was sticking. The moderators, kudos to the moderators. They were so prepared.
Absolutely.
Huge shout out, Megan, Chris, and Brett. Amazing job.
It was outstanding. And I think yesterday was a really interesting day, because we started out with Mitt Romney coming out so strongly against Donald Trump.
Yeah, we have to talk about that.
But then Donald Trump he handled it well. I thought his response when he was in Maine, he came across okay. And then last night, watching and kind of ending on that note, it was evident that and I thought the moderators did a great job with this, that they really pointed out that he's flip-flopped, that he's changed his opinion, and even though he's talking about being flexible, there's some big differences there. And the numbers, his numbers were way off last night. So I kind of felt like the night ended you know, that I agree with you, Maria. It kind of took a little bit of the shine off of him, and maybe the American people might start to look into this more and say, wait a minute, I really need to understand.
I felt like it was Donald Trump's worst debate.
It was.
I agree.
Definitely. Right? Okay.
I agree.
We've got to talk about how the day started. We've got to talk about Mitt Romney, shaping up to be one of Donald Trump's most outspoken opponents. Listen to this. Yesterday, the 2012 Republican presidential nominee himself attacking the GOP frontrunner in this speech.
Let me put it very plainly. If we Republicans choose Donald Trump as our nominee, the prospects for a safe and prosperous future are greatly diminished.
Okay, David, you up first. Feud between Trump and Romney. How do you see it?
Well, look, you know, the upside for Republicans who oppose Trump is it keeps the attacks on him that have a chance to work in the bloodstream, and we're all talking about it. The downside is I think a lot of voters are tired of the idea of people from on high in D.C., people like Mitt Romney telling them how to vote and how they're supposed to think. So there's a plus-minus here, but, you know, I have to say, if nothing's going to hurt Trump, then if you oppose Trump, you might as well speak out and let that rest as you having tried to do something. And when you look at the past with all of the debates and the rest of the campaign, having high-minded debates that focused on Hillary Clinton, that were more policy-focused, that where the candidates were more positive, didn't do them any good. They were all losing, and then they were all on track to lose to him. And so trying this, number one, they have nothing to lose, and number two, if anything's going to work, this is what's going to work, because what they were doing wasn't working.
Yeah.